numéro a joué désigné numéro 32, batting fourth, designated player number 32. Mackenzie Parada. En cinquième, joueur deuxième numéro 8, batting fifth, en septième base, number 8, Andrea Fleur. Au sixième rang, joueur troisième numéro 17, batting sixth, playing third base, number 19, Junior Longley, number 14, direction. En septième, numéro 23, batting 7, shortstop number 23, Melanie Sheldon. Au huitième rang, sur le centre, numéro 27, batting 8, from center field, number 27, Jude Soyanopoulos. Les Japon vient de l'autre jour de gauche, numéro 21, batting 9, number 21, Alverica. En position flex, lanceur numéro 24, in the flex position, pitcher number 24, is Peter Vivelo. Les substituts, alternate numéro 4, number 4, original. Numéro 7, number 7, Ilaria Cacciamani. Numéro 10, number 10, Anita Batlodi. Numéro 16, number 16, Alice Nicolini. Numéro 15, number 15, Elisa Cecchetti. Numéro 5, number 5, Alexia La Catena. Team Italy. Voici l'équipe majeure pour ce match de home team for this game. Team Australia A. Accompagné joueur deuxième but numéro 21, batting first, playing second base, number 21, Kira Kurihara. Au deuxième, batting numéro 14, batting second, shortstop number 14, Chelsea Robinson. Au troisième rang, la joueuse désignée numéro 17, batting third, designated player number 19, Millie Fitch. Au quatrième, joueur premier but numéro 5, batting fourth, playing first base, number 5, Alisa Mayo. Au cinquième, joueur de gauche numéro 12, batting fifth, left fielder number 12, Taylor Chillingworth. Au sixième rang, joueur de centre numéro 3, batting sixth, center fielder number 3, Ryan Penn. Au septième, joueur troisième but numéro 22, batting seventh, batting third base number 22, Neil Adams. Au huitième rang, lanceur numéro 8, batting 8, pitcher number 8, Caitlin Ware. Au neuvième, joueur de droite numéro 33, batting 9, right fielder number 33, Sarah Rion. En position flex, receveur numéro 20, à la flex position, catcher number 20, Andy Baker. Et substitut les alternates, numéro 31, number 31, Akira Devi. Numéro 6, number 6, Carrie Pritchard. Numéro 7, number 7, Steph Brzezinski. Numéro 4, number 4, Aisley Wilson. Numéro 2, number 2, Brooke Stewart. Team Australia A. Les arbitres pour ce match, the umpires for this game. Au mound at home plate, Casey Coleman. Au premier but, at first base, Brian Weber. Au deuxième but, at second base, Randy Homer. Et au troisième but, at third base, Andy Michaud. Mesdames, Messieurs, évidemment, s'il vous plaît, vous levez si vous en êtes capable de retirer les chapeaux et casquettes pour l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux de l'Italie et de l'Australie. Ladies and gentlemen, please now rise if you're able to remove your hats and caps for the national anthems of Italy and Australia. national players who get table mats set electrical games on a great game.
After a 3-hour marathon between Triple Crown Colorado, 2 protests, 13 runs, and a wild affair, we hope things are a little calmer. Although it was fun for a long time as Greece looked like they were on the verge of a massive upset before Triple Crown Colorado got the benefit of a protest and scored 6 on their way to an 8-5 win. Now, the spotlight in many ways, I would suggest, is on Team Italy. Italy, 2-3. And in this tournament, if you can finish in the top 4, it sets you up much better, because then you would enter tomorrow's playoff round with 2 lives rather than 1. And as I'm joined once again by the talented and former national team shortstop of Team Italy, Amanda Fama, Italy has 2 games remaining. So they are in control of their own fate. If they win against Australia, they'll be favored, and against Mexico in the final game of the round robin, as we get a look at their batting order for this afternoon's important game, then they would finish in 4th place.
Yeah, I think you spoke well about how important it is to finish in the top 4 to get an extra life. And that's why every single game is important in a sense, because if Italy does win these next 2, puts them in the number 4 spot, but then they're going to have to face the number 1 team, is correct. And that's going to be tough because that's going to be a team that they most likely lost to and are going to have to learn how to win. So, yeah, it's a tough position to be in, but again, getting in those top 4 is important.
It's incredibly important. As Team Australia, they're a very, like Israel, like Greece, like many teams here, they're very young. And this is, if you want to call it, their development team. Their main team is trying to qualify for next year's World Cup. They're participating in the first of 3 World Cup qualifiers in Ireland. And yesterday took the United States to 8 innings in a 1-0 loss. So Italy at 2-3 had a very difficult schedule off the top and have come back with a couple of wins. They beat Israel. They then needed only 3 innings to knock off Team Greece yesterday. And they have a key player back, and we'll continue to tell that story as this game goes along. Marta Gasparotto is the leadoff batter for Team Italy. She is playing at third. We've seen her a lot. At shortstop, we've seen her behind the plate in this tournament. But with the return of shortstop Melanie Sheldon, who was spiked and banged up early in the tournament, which is great news for Italy, and Gasparotto has the game's first hit off Australia starting pitcher Caitlin Laird.
And Marta does a good job here just getting her barrel out. She struggled yesterday popping the ball up. And so for her to keep her hands up high, even though on a low ball, going down and getting the barrel out in a good spot and doing her job as a leadoff, getting on for Rotondo to do something.
Been so impressed with the work this week of today in right field, Alessandra Rotondo. And remember, this is a game where Italy, like in the last game, Triple Crown Colorado against Greece, is a heavy favorite. So they're going to do some things potentially with their lineup that you will not see when they face Mexico tonight in what could be a real showdown and will be for fourth place. Although Israel's still in that mix too because they finished 3-4. What gives Italy the opportunity is A, they're the only team that can get 2 4-3. But there could be a 3-way tie potentially in that situation.
And I think that's what's exciting in this tournament is, yes, you have top teams. You have Japan and TC came out strong but has struggled. So it's kind of a mix-up as it goes down from 1 and 2 in the rest of the field. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the week and the possible tie.
Caitlin Laird, we'll double check on those standings in between innings. Certainly know that Israel has finished up at 3-4. Mexico, I believe, is 2-4. Rotondo lays down the bunt. It is just foul as the catcher got out of the box in a hurry. Maddie Baker. Maddie was in this tournament last year as Australia had 2 teams. They had their national team and their development team that they brought here for the 2022 Canada Cup.
That has to be fun to have 2 teams here, one your Olympic team and one being a developmental team.
Well, it's great development opportunities. Laird to second for 1. And the smart play by Kurahira to hang on and not try to maybe throw a ball away as Rotondo on the fielder's choice, and she can fly, so it would have been tough to double her up. Erica Piancastelli, the dangerous number 3 hitter, is 4 for 14 in this tournament. She has a home run. Played her college ball at McNeese State and has been a star of this Italian team for a number of years now. And if Italy is to really contend, I would suggest, Amanda, it would have a lot to do with her bat really heating up on the weekend and today.
Yeah, Peter, I agree. I'd say Erica's been off. She's definitely not happy with her performance lately, and so she's probably been watching film in the hotel room, learning from every at-bat.
Strong throw from Baker on a ball that literally rolled to her at home plate. And Rotondo can flat out run, steals the base, but it wasn't that easy.
Yeah, that's a good play, especially with a ball rolling at you, to be able to pick it and make a great throw, especially with Rotondo's speed. But with Erica, I see her seeing this game as making solid contact. She's popped up a lot of deep fly balls, which Erica does a lot when she misses the pitch. And so I'd assume she's going into this game focusing on quality at bats and solid contact moving forward in the tournament. She's going to have to step it up a little bit if Italy wants to do well.
Well, she is more than capable. As I mentioned, 4 for 14. In this tournament, and Erica draws a 1-out walk. And Mackenzie Barbara is the batter. Still holds the tournament's longest home run. Now, I don't have a tape measure, and there has been some competition for that title, but her blast against Canada in a 7-4 loss that went into the trees over the tent, I think was the longest shot we've seen. So you do not want to make a mistake to this woman. Pride Day here, which will be further celebrated, and she turns on it and drills it to the gap. Rotondo scores easily. Biancastelli is waved, and she will score standing up. And Italy on a 2-run double by Mackenzie Barbara take an early 2-0 lead.
Yeah, that's a little low of a pitch for Barbara. We saw her jack that home run on a high pitch. She does well hitting this to that right center gap. Erica got an amazing jump. She's not the fastest runner, but able to score from there, putting Italy on the board 2-0, and Barbara putting herself in a scoring position as well.
And 30-year-old star, formerly many years ago now at the University of Northwestern, is Andrea Filler. Played in the 2021 Olympics and will get a running change immediately as the youngster Anita Bartoli comes in to run for Mackenzie Barbara. Two in on the 2-run double. There's Caitlin Laird. She's just 20 years of age, the starting pitcher for the Australian development team under the guidance of head coach Nerida Weirn. And I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly.
Now, I was actually able to kind of have lunch with Australia a couple hours ago and talk with them a little bit. And Caitlin Laird was one of the girls that kind of took control when talking to me and was talking about her work ethic. And that's what she's looking to improve here. And she is one of kind of mid-range in age for this team, but she wants to see every opportunity as an improvement. This team has an incredible attitude, and they know where they stand in this tournament. But with Laird leading them, she looked up to players like Kaya Barnaby, one of the best pitchers for Team Australia, and to really work on every chance she can to improve and see every opportunity as a learning opportunity to learn. And that's what I think was great about hearing that from a young pitcher like that.
Filler off the glove of Kira Haryu, and it scores a run as Filler, with a hard-hit line drive, and Italy jumps out as they did in their 16-0 victory in 3 innings over Greece. And here comes the head coach looking to settle down. You mentioned Caitlin Laird. She's 20 years of age. She's from Melbourne, Australia. She performed in 2 Australian national championships. One was in late December. It was the U23 national championship where she pitched 20-plus innings in that event and performed very well. And then also at a quality outing for her Melbourne and area state team. They split teams into 8 different states over in Australia and have national championships, a lot like Canada does with its provinces. And she pitched 14 2/3 innings in that event. And that was in the early part of this year. And we're going to get a pitching change as I talk about Caitlin Laird. And the new pitcher early on in the game is going to be the veteran, Steph Trzynski. Trzynski has international experience. She's 27 years of age, from Adelaide, Australia. She played collegiately up until 2017. That was her last year in college at Cal Berkeley. Was on last year's 2022 World Games team. Pitched 1 inning. It was against Japan. Also performed for the Aussie Spirit, the national team here last year, where she was 0-1 and pitched 10 1/3 innings. Her first big appearance for Australia came in 2015 at the World Junior Championships, as it was known then. Now it is the U19 or U18. Even the age groups confuse me. They change a lot. And I believe It's now U18 and U23 as far as the World Baseball and Softball Confederation age groups.
And I was talking with Steph earlier, and she actually is playing in the Italian League right now, and she's playing with Saronno, a team up north in Italy, and they're usually a top team, one of the top two out there, and so it's funny. We were chit-chatting a little bit in Italian over there, but the one thing she said, and she was going to laugh about, and I see a smile already, is her teammate is Giulia Longhi, who's up to bat right now, and they go at it sometimes when she pitches BP, and I think Steph kind of favors this at bat. So it was funny to see how it just turned out this way, that they're going to be facing each other pretty early on in the game, and they'll definitely be talking about this at bat when they get back over to Italy.
And you said they play together in Saronno?
Saronno, yeah. Saronno.
Saronno. I have actually been to beautiful Saronno.
Ah.
A lovely city. The bunt by the Italian captain Longhi, and she is thrown out by Steph Trzynski, her Italian teammate. And there now is 2 away as Italy has struck for 3 in the top of the first inning. And here is the return of shortstop Melanie Sheldon, who was spiked on a play at second base, and we have not seen her since, unless she played last night against Team Greece. And with all the preparation and all the games and everything going on, I didn't dig too hard into the 16-0 3-inning box score. But it is great to have Melanie Sheldon back for Italy and in the tournament. Your replacement at shortstop.
And she's a good one at that. I love Melanie. She's Peter, you and I spoke about Melanie actually, and her work ethic is incredible. She's always working to get better. So I can imagine the frustration she had getting hurt the first game. She's accident prone like myself. And so for her to be back in and get in a rhythm, she's going to be happy about this at bat just to be in it.
Well, her return as she faces Steph Trzynski, who replaced the Australian starter, Caitlin Laird. And not surprising that Steph has seen the majority of the workload here in Surrey. And it's great that you have a veteran player who I'm sure is very much in a captain-type role. Now, my guess is also very disappointed she's in Canada right now, not Ireland, playing for the national team. So those are difficult things, but good for her. And one never knows if her country can qualify, and that right now is a bit of an issue based on the performance of Great Britain. Georgina Corrick is pitching Great Britain. I haven't checked for a couple hours, but they were in a showdown of 3-0 teams with the United States today. Corrick has pitched every pitch of their first 3 games and will continue to. The star at the University of South Florida. And good for Trzynski. Comes on and strikes out Melanie Sheldon. Italy still with their sights set on a top 4 finish and an extra playoff berth tomorrow when they begin here at Softball City. Italy will send Cristina Tognolo to the rubber as they have jumped in front of the Australian development team. They're the Australian A team technically here, but I think it's fair to refer to them as the development team. These are players on the verge of making their way towards national team status.
And they're well aware of that too, and that's a good humbling thing for them. They were having a blast. They're taking this as a learning experience in every sense. And so they know where they stand, and they're proud to watch their Aussie spirit, I guess, compete over in Ireland, and they're also super excited and so prideful to represent Australia here in this tournament.
Cristina Tognolo had a very busy season. She's from Crystal Lake, Illinois, and pitched at the University of Illinois at Chicago, which is not the Big Ten's University of Illinois, which is located in Champaign. She pitched 173 innings this year. Did Tognolo. Hopeful of making an impact with Team Italy. And the absence of longtime star Greta Cicchetti, who, like my partner here, decided that it was time to move on, ranging over as filler. And Hira Kurihara, who was the MVP of the U23 National Championships, grounds out to begin the bottom of the first inning. Shortstop, Chelsea Robinson. Feels like forever since we've watched Australia. Saw them early, and Robinson with a good cut on the Tognolo offering and lines out to shortstop Melanie Sheldon. So there's her first touch, and I would think early in a game when you have a good touch, probably is very helpful.
Yeah.
That a line drive right at her, so that helps, but
She'll want a ground ball. I know Mel, she wants, even though this might be one of the laid-back games, she's going to want as many reps as she can get.
Millie Fidge is the designated player. Millie plays a number of roles. She's part of the pitching staff. And in my next lifetime, I wouldn't mind being part-time Millie Fidge. She grew up in beautiful Adelaide, Australia, which I'm told is spectacular. And she just finished her college season at the University of Hawaii.
That must be nice.
It's a good gig if you can get it. I wonder if the Fighting Rainbows have an opening in their softball play-by-play department. I could maybe sign up for a winter and spring of that. And look out. Oh, did that get a piece of her? I think it did.
I think it did as well.
Hope she's okay. There's Alyssa Miguel on the turn by Fidge in the inside pitch. No.
Well, and you see them laughing, and this is actually funny because, again, when I was over there having lunch chatting with them, probably 6 or 7 foul balls from the games going on around us came into their little tent, and they just started cracking up each time. And finally they said that they have been ball magnets at the wrong time. They said, I'll be a ball magnet on the field, but as they're walking around, all these balls keep getting hit at them. And I think there was an incident yesterday, actually didn't end too well, but that's why they're laughing over there about that.
Filler ranging and cannot quite make the play. We'll wait to see if Fidge is on, and it looks like they've given her credit for a hit. That was deep in the hole. So a base hit for Millie Fidge. And ball magnet Alyssa Miguel steps in. Boy, you get a lot done on your lunch break. Good stories.
This team is amazing, and I don't know if I can get into it, but the elite Aussie team is called Aussie Spirit, and if that's what they're representing here, they have incredible spirit and so many funny stories. They actually all came together as a team at 1 o'clock in the morning before their first game. That was the first time they had actually met as a team, and it was so fun to sit there with them and get to know them, and I hope I can share a little bit of that as they're doing well with the runner on first here.
Well, it gives our broadcast such a different feel, and I've always felt in doing this for a long time that, yes, stats are nice, there's the return of Melanie Sheldon. A diving play into the hole as she returns to the lineup since early on being banged up in the tournament. So a diving play by Melanie Sheldon, 3-0 Italy, and we'll continue to tell some good stories because what you always want to do is you call the game, you tell some stories, because in my world, I think people like to relate to people. We're through one at Softball City. See, that's great stuff. That's Julia Katsoyanopoulos, the star at the University of Tennessee. She caught there the majority of this year, a left-handed catcher, but an outfielder here, and a very good one. An excellent athlete. Runs well, throws well. She's kind of the five-tool type player. And it will get over the screen.
Yeah, Coots, as I call her, we call her, because her last name is so difficult, really is an all-around athlete. She chomps on her gum out there in the outfield and somehow doesn't choke on it when she makes amazing plays, and then she hustles around the bases and has the potential to put a ball over the fence, too. She'll drop a bunt. She's a hard worker and plays hard, too. I absolutely love her.
Well, she was a lot of fun to watch for a few days of the College Women's World Series, and certainly has been as a really important piece of this Italian national team once again. An impressive 5 for 10 in the tournament. Has a couple of home runs and 4 runs batted in. Only Erica Piancastelli, who added to her totals with a big outpouring last night against Greece, has more runs batted in than Julia Katsoyanopoulos. Facing Steph Trzynski. And had a good twist and swing on that pitch. Canada, Japan up next. 2 very important games in the whole scheme of things after this one. And this one important for Italy, but they're a heavy favorite and off to a good start. They still will be favored against Mexico, but that could kind of flip this top 4 scenario in an interesting spot. Italy is 2-3. Mexico 2-4. Israel already finished the round robin at 3 and 4. They beat Australia earlier today, did Team Israel, by a count of 5-2. So it is with potential that we could end up with a 3-way tie at 3 and 4 for the all-important 4th playoff spot. And to reiterate, why is it so important? Because I would much rather have 2 chances in the playoffs than 1. Now, are you going to have an incredibly difficult opponent, likely Japan tomorrow? If you finish 4th, you still want to be in that spot.
Yeah, that's why you want that second chance pretty much, is you're going to face a difficult team, but...
Katsoyanopoulos towards the gap. She'll make a turn, a wide turn, and a smart play to hang on. That was tracked very well by right fielder Sarah Ryu. Got to it quickly and showed off her strong arm.
And she does very well tracking that, getting to the ball quick, because, like I said, Coots is a very aggressive, very fast runner, and you could tell she wanted second base. And if that ball's not in quick, she'll catch you on that, and she'll take the second base.
So Katsoyanopoulos with the base hit. This gets away from the Australian catcher, Maddie Baker. Even like the body language there from the veteran 27-year-old pitcher, Trzynski. Looked at the youngster and said, "We're okay, you're okay." And the batter is Laura Vigna, who has not played as much so far in this tournament as I had thought might be the case. She has performed quite well in international competition over the years as Laura Vigna.
Yeah, Vigna is one of those athletes. She actually made, I don't know the name of it, but a special teams out of the Olympics. She was able to make it with how well she did at the Olympics for us. Kind of like an all-star team that they listed. And again, she has been clutch for Team Italy when they need it. Again, surprised she wasn't in the lineup as much as she has been. But Vigna will take that and use it as encouragement to get herself back in the lineup. So I'm excited to see if she can do something here.
Could be very critical to their playoff hopes. This is only her 10th at-bat of the tournament. She's 2 for 8. Laura Vigna doubles to the wall in left center. And she has her 3rd hit of the Canada Cup and Italy's 4th run batted in.
That's a great job. Very controlled swing with her bat. Sometimes Vigna can get a little wild, but nice and composed there. Switches places, drives in a run. Good job, Vigna.
I love your little good jobs to your former teammates.
It's hard not to do it, too, and I just thought about it.
It's good. You know what? The one thing that I will never fault people for, ever, is how on earth would you not? You helped this country to the Olympic Games and were a big reason why they earned their way there. If you can't have a little extra bias in some ways towards your old team, who could? I would never, ever. Now, there are situations in this business. Now, I'm not allowed to do it, but I didn't play for anyone. You, on the other hand, absolutely.
Yeah, I love these girls. I would say Italy was my home at points, and it's passion. You can never not cheer for the girls that you had an amazing experience with, and of course I want them to win or just do well.
I think that's been it. You want, and everybody, anyone who has ever played on a team, let's not kid anybody. Poor Brian. We have just worn the poor man out. I have. You haven't. You're just, everybody loves you. You just, you have lunch with people. The Olympian. You're lovely. I get to be the bad guy every once in a while.
You're doing all the work here, though. I'm just talking about a team that I know. But let's see if Gasparotto can do something here. She's in a bit of a slump trying to work through it.
Well, she did have a hit early. And Vigna takes the opportunity on the bobble to move her way up. Marta Gasparotto. It's thrown out on a force back in the 3-run first inning. Marta is 5 for 17, now 5 for 18. No official appearance there because it is a walk. And still no one out here for Team Italy.
Which puts the Australian team in a good learning situation. First and third, you've got a fast runner at third with no outs. You're down 4-0. Are you just going to get the out if the runner steals? Is your infield going to play back and try and get a double play? Just get an out is what I would think the defense could be thinking, or play in a little more and try and stop Vigna, the runner at third, from scoring. There's a lot of different options that the Australia team can take right here.
Alessandra Rotondo in right field today reached on a fielder's choice and scored the first Team Italy run. She came home on a 2-run double by designated player Mackenzie Barbara, who doubled to the wall or fence. It's not really a wall, it's a fence. A bunt attempt by the 23-year-old was 2 for 9 at last summer's World Games in Birmingham, Alabama. Rotondo, an impressive 7 for 16 so far at the Canada Cup. It's been a really good week for her. And she has made some great plays at second to go along with those fine hitting numbers.
Yeah, Peter, she's had some of those ESPN moments. And again, this game's more personal for me since I know Italy. Rotondo's had a bit of a tough couple of years, came up short making that Olympic team due to injury, and that we all know that too well, and happens with a lot of players. So to see her doing well besides that strikeout is good to see. And again, I know all these girls, once they kind of fall and get a strikeout, they'll come back. They've got a big game tonight and hopefully do better and learn from it.
Erica Piancastelli walked and she scored in that 3-run first. They've added one more and lead by 4 against 1 and 5 Australia development team. Their lone win came over Team Greece, so they will end up in the number 7 position in the standings, and they'll play the 6th place finisher tomorrow afternoon in their elimination playoff game, as teams from 5 through 8 will square off against one another for the right to move up with the teams in the top 4 who have one extra chance. So to try to clarify that just a little, so the winner of those 2 games will then take on the losers of the top 4, I would call it winners bracket semifinals. Piancastelli leans into it, and it is off the bleachers.
There she goes. Again, Erica, that type of athlete, has potential to hit a home run every single time, and we'll learn if she doesn't.
Erica Piancastelli has her 3rd home run And it's a 3-run shot. Runs batted in 7, 8, and 9. And we're going to get yet another pitching change as Piancastelli's 3-run blast has blown this game open. And Italy, the bats are coming alive. And let's not forget, so they lose big to Japan. They were down 7-1 against Canada. I think a real turning point, and you would know, you would have had some conversations since. Even though they lost 2-1 to Triple Crown Colorado yesterday, I would guess that had to be somewhat of a rallying point to say, we're a top 4 team here for sure. Now, this proves it. Let's go out the rest of the week and show why.
Absolutely. I think they know their ability and aren't happy with losing when they shouldn't. So playing TC Colorado, it was a close game. We saw their bats start to come alive and absolutely was a turning point. I'm sure the coaching staff got on them a little bit. Hey, you guys are better than this. Pull it together. And now they're starting to get in their groove. With especially Piancastelli didn't play last year with us. She took kind of a year off from the national team to pursue softball in Japan, which absolutely she's doing so well for herself and so well for Italy's softball. A lot of people here are fans of her, and they should. And so to have Piancastelli back in the lineup gives the team more confidence, but also sets the stage a little higher because that's a huge bat. So to answer your question, Peter, yes, I think they started to come alive at that TC Colorado game, and that was a turning point for them.
Well, and the other part is, too, so you win last night against Greece, 16-0. But there is nothing like a team that hasn't found its offensive confidence to have a night where everybody leaves the park feeling good about how they hit. And
right.
Make no bones about it, as Millie Fidge is going to come into the game, the designated player and a good hitter for Australia, when everybody starts to feel better about themselves at home plate. And the fact of the matter is, take this game for what it is, Amanda, and you know it so well. The strength of this team, Italy, I have found, is how they hit the ball. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if they're to make some noise on the weekend, which I think they're capable of, they're probably going to have to beat teams like Canada or Triple Crown, you know, potentially 4-3 or 5-4. Because I don't really think, now I don't want to take anything away, and one of the keys on the weekend will be Lindsay Lopez and Racy Miranda. So we'll see one of those pitchers tonight, without question, against Mexico to make sure they finish in 4th place. But they, to me, are the most now intriguing team in some respects heading into tomorrow's playoffs.
Well, yeah, we've talked before about young pitching staffs and a lot of teams not having their ace pitchers yet. And Italy's played a year without Greta Cicchetti, so they're trying to figure it out. And so for teams, including Italy at the moment, they need to find their groove offensively. Again, every single hitter in this lineup can put the ball over the fence, and they need to start doing that because they're going to have to kind of overcompensate here on the offensive side if runs start to happen on the defensive side. And I think with Racy and Team Mexico, they're kind of in a similar situation along with Canada. And so the offensive side of the game is going to be huge for all teams this weekend.
Well, when it comes to Italy's pitching, yes, there's no question the whole dynamic, and you know it far better than I could ever know it, changed with Greta Cicchetti, who was so vital in your country and your quest to play in the Olympics. She was absolutely lights out in that qualifier in 2019 when you went and won that. Is Mackenzie Barbara towering. Is it going to go? It's caught. Good play to stay with that for Taylor Chillingworth. That ball was miles high off the bat of the powerful Mackenzie Barbara, but it stays in the yard, and Australia has the second out of the bottom of the second inning. Alice Nicolini, one of the best performances on the rubber for me in this tournament if you do not have a Japanese name.
Yeah, not being biased, but I agree. She did phenomenal, and we were just talking about how sometimes Nicolini doesn't get that start, kind of gets thrown in, but she got that start, well-deserved, and performed exceptionally well.
Well, and that was a 7-inning performance against Triple Crown Colorado in one of the games of the week, as far as I'm concerned, because those two teams were certainly projected to be in the top 4 in this 8-team round-robin event. And they played like it. And Nicolini went the distance and was marvelous against that young but so talented college all-star team that Dave King has brought, involved in a marathon that I will not forget for the rest of my time against Greece. Filler to right. Caught, and the inning is over. However, a third homer in the tournament, a 3-run shot off the bat of Erica Piancastelli, has Italy in front after 2. It's 7-0. Back with more from Softball City right after this. Taylor Chillingworth bats in the bottom of the second for Australia. They trail it early, 7-0 against this powerful hitting Italian team that was one of 6 teams 2 summers ago in the Summer Olympic Games. And another inning of work for Christina Toniolo. And there's another player that Team Italy has high hopes for as we touched on, go in search maybe of the next one. You're always looking for that young player to come along and be an ace of your staff.
And there's a lot of good Italian pitchers in the Italian league that just didn't get the opportunity to be here, and I think that's kind of throughout other countries as well. There's a lot of good athletes, and you pick and choose, and you have to be able to perform when you get that opportunity, because that opportunity might not be there again.
Yeah, it is funny how sports very much works the same way, and it is certainly not exclusive to this one. Taylor Chillingworth, 3 for 11 in the tournament. On the ground, under the glove of both Julia Longhi and shortstop Melanie Sheldon. So Chillingworth opens the bottom of the second with her 4th hit of this Canada Cup.
That's a rare error from Julia at third, and she was expecting that extra little hop and doesn't keep her glove down, and unfortunately results in a runner on first.
Chillingworth is committed to play at San Jose State in the fall. She's from Adelaide. Hit .300 with 8 runs driven in the U23 National Championships back home in Australia. And this is launched foul off the bat of Rhiannon Kemp, who is back for her second straight Canada Cup. Was impressive, I thought, last year when she batted .278. Played for Australia in the 2017 World Junior Championships. She's from Brisbane, 24. Filler, or Gasparotto, pardon me, in front of Filler. And Marta continues to show her versatility, and you can play her anywhere.
You can, and it's funny. That's a tough play because she's going so far, and I think that's the shortstop in her, that she wants to get every ball near her, but it's a great job cutting that ball off because she's getting taken towards second base, and so she's able to make that play to get the lead runner out.
That's an exceptional play, and I believe either her first or second start at first, and we've seen her at short, behind the plate, and at first base. So Kemp on the fielder's choice as Toniolo, the pitcher, facing third base player Neve Adams. Adams is from Adelaide. She was 12 for 32 at the U23 National Championships, which was actually held in December, and was an impressive 6 for 19 at the Canada Cup, but not in the senior women's division, in the U19 Futures Gold last year. And Australia represented there too. Neve Adams on the run is Laura Vigna to make a quality catch in left.
Vigna gets great jumps in the outfield, and the thing I laugh about is she always has this little glove flip before she catches a ball. And it's funny, but she's got incredible speed and takes great angles at the ball and makes amazing catches. It's great to see her back in left field and making outs.
Steph Trzynski is the batter, and she has a base hit. Steph Trzynski, who has pitched in the game. And also is now 5 for 7 at home plate. That's her 5th hit in 7 official appearances for Steph Trzynski. Sarah Ryu take strike 1 from Christina Toniolo, who has given up 3 hits, 2 of them here in the bottom of the second. And more trouble on that side of the diamond. The throw home by Filler is in time to get Rhiannon Kemp trying to score on the play.
Julia just doesn't get her body in the right position. Again, kind of expecting a different type of bounce, it looked like there. Filler was in a position to be able to make an out, and Italy's not going to be able to let those things happen if they get to this second round and face a little better teams.
7-0 Italy. Some work to do, but in command at the Canada Cup. Julia Longi, the batter. And has had a less than Julia Longi day over at third. And I don't think these games are ever easy to play when you're the heavily favored team. You expect to win this game, and probably handily, and it looks like they're on their way to doing so. And you know you've got the big one of the day, which will be the final game for Italy tonight at 8:30 when they play Mexico, in a game that if they win this one and that one, then they'll play again, I believe, tomorrow at 10:30 in the first playoff game in a 1-versus-4 winners bracket semifinal is what I'll call it. All 8 teams make the playoffs, but the top 4 have an extra opportunity to play with. It's not a true double knockout because you can advance to the championship game and you could go through unbeaten and lose and you don't get an extra chance. And it happened here last year.
Right.
The U.S. did have a loss in the playoffs to Triple Crown Colorado, but in the showdown for the gold medal, and that, as you know, has become a very common format, you are actually penalized by, finishing, I guess, first in the winner's bracket. It's helpful. You play a minimum amount of playoff games. You only have to play 2 to get to the final that way, but it can be a disadvantage because you can end a tournament where you have 1 loss.
Right.
The other team has 1. Last year, Triple Crown Colorado had less overall losses than the United States, and the United States national team won the tournament. But that's how these things go, as Longi is aboard as she walks to start the top of the 3rd inning. Melanie Sheldon, this is her 2nd game, and it's only her 3rd plate appearance. She was hurt early in that game.
First or 2nd inning.
And she tripled in her first at-bat and made an out here in the first. So 1 for 2, which sounds strange on day number 5, when some players are in the 25 range for at-bats, or in some cases even higher. Certainly after 7 games.
Again, knowing Mel, I think that's what's going to be more frustrating for her. Again, getting hurt is disappointing, but they have a huge tournament coming up. And in the Italian League, you're not getting reps, quality reps from pitchers like you are here at tournaments like this. So for Mel to miss out on all those at-bats, Melanie Sheldon to miss 10, 15 at-bats, that's what's going to frustrate her the most. And so she's really going to lock in here and take this as a quality at-bat and really use it to better herself, is what athletes have to do.
Millie Fidge, the 3rd pitcher of record for Team Australia, had thrown 6 2/3 coming into today. Gave up 6 runs on 10 hits, struck out 6 and walked 5, and has done a nice job so far after replacing Steph Trzynski, who had replaced the starter Caitlin Laird, into the hole. Difficult play, and Sheldon beats it out for her 2nd hit of the tournament, as she is just returning after being hurt very early in game 1.
That's a tough play at shortstop, but she backhands it, replaces her feet, and Mel just got there quicker. That's a great play by a young shortstop, and when your arm gets a little stronger, you're able to make those plays a little quicker.
Chelsea Robinson did a really nice job getting into the hole there, and she planted her feet and made an excellent throw across the diamond.
Yeah, she should be happy with that play. Sometimes the result isn't what we want, but again, talking to this Australia team, again, with Millie actually being such a character, but all these young players, they're here, and all of them said it to get better. And so a play like that at a level like this, you don't get an out, but you know that was a great play.
Kitsoyanopoulos in search of her second hit of this game. Now 6-for-11 in the tournament is Julia Kitsoyanopoulos, who I have joked with you, she has the most Greek-Italian name I've ever heard.
And I'll be interested to see how Julia Coots, as we say on the Italian national team, she has such fast hands, Peter. I would love to see her bat speed. Her hands are so quick. It's always a struggle for Coots to kind of wait on a ball, but she's done a great job. And her last at bat, she fouled some off just early on it. So for her to kind of dial back, wait a little bit longer, she can, again, like I've said, she has the potential to put the ball over the fence.
Well, there is little doubt about that. And she has gone deep a couple of times in this tournament. 2 more runs batted in earlier in the game. And fouls this away. And this is the great part about having you with us this week, Amanda, is just the insight. Talking about what makes the players, certainly that you have the best knowledge of, Italy, but an understanding from being an Olympic level athlete in this sport, just all the different nuances and what they go through. It looked like she was actually ahead of that change, and there's a perfect example. Now, change-ups will do that to people who don't possess the quick hands, but that's an excellent strikeout pitch for young Millie Fidge.
That is a great pitch, and again, talking and chatting with these Aussie players, it was so fun kind of asking them, hey, what would be like your ESPN moment here? And Millie and a couple of other pitchers were talking about their changeups, and they want to get players on changeups. And so to see them getting a strikeout here on a changeup, it's, again, I'm Team Italy all the way, but I'm also cheering for the growth of these athletes. So to see them kind of do the stuff that they're hoping for is really cool out there.
Well, Millie Fidge just made an excellent defensive play. She threw a rocket over to first to get a speedy Laura Vigna with a second out of this top of the third.
And Millie was joking, and the whole team was joking about how she's not the most athletic person off the field.
Gasparotto on the ground.
But they've done great here.
Kurihara takes care of business over at second. And Millie Fidge in Australia put up a 0 in the top of the third. Back with more in just a moment or so from Softball City as we're in the final day of round robin competition. Italy, 3 runs in the first, 4 more, aided by Erica Piancastelli's 3-run homer in the second. But Millie Fidge does a nice job and does not allow another run in the top of the third. As the top of the order is Hira Kurahara. As Christina Toniolo continues to work. Born in Osaka, Japan.
Give you a guess of who her favorite Japanese player is.
Does it start with a U?
It does. I went down there, was talking to her, and she's like, "Do you know Ueno?" And I'm like, "I know her as another K in her book." And she's so starstruck to see Ueno here, as I mean, these young athletes should be. And her goal is to kind of look up to her, as she says, if there was ever a softball god, which it would be Ueno, and I completely agree. But she's having a blast out here.
Well, we might watch the 40-year-old in action in the next game. I think it's a strong possibility that Team Canada has a look at one of the greats of all time, Yukiko Ueno.
I hope. I'm getting, like, itchy to see her again.
Yeah, you're on the right side of the diamond this time. This Japanese-born player, and there are a lot of Japanese-born who Australia has a very, I don't know enough about it, but I do know that over the years in international events that I've called, there can be a decent contingent of players from there. Brazil is another country that, in softball at least, in the women's and U19, where you will find Asian heritage and Japanese heritage. That was certainly the case here in the 2019 Olympic qualifier, where Brazil finished third behind Mexico, and then Canada. Pool cued off the bat of Chelsea Robinson. And quickly, there are 2 down. Also, pitcher number 19, Millie Fidge. Millie Fidge pitching well and has one of the 3 Australia hits. Amelia is her given name, but everywhere on the lineup card for the last 2 years it's been Millie. So I'll just go with it and hope that Mom and Dad, who might be watching back home in Australia, are not offended. And if you are watching this game in Australia, we're really happy to have you with us. It is a marvelous country, a marvelous sports country, and it's certainly on my bucket list. I have never been and hope to get there before too much longer.
We were able to play a tournament down there, the Asia Pacific Cup, which, again, our head coach, Enrico, who passed away, got us in there, and it was one of the best tournaments I've ever experienced. Japan was there the first time I saw them. But afterwards, and I think this says a lot about the Australia Softball Federation, is they had this tournament called the Summer Slam. And what it was all the national teams, excluding Japan, they would break up and come together on separate teams. So 2 from Team Italy would be on the red team and 5 from Australia and stuff. And so we all played, and I played on Fury with like 6 of Chinese Taipei and 5 other Australians, and it was incredible, and it was really bringing softball together. And it was a fun experience.
Well, it was a fun experience just listening to that story, and I've heard some good stories this week, and it really is. Even this tournament, Greg Tim has talked about the theme, is the inspiration of sport. On Pride Day at the Canada Cup. Seven to nothing, Italy, Canada, and Japan. The feature game. I'm always interested in how coaches will set their lineups.
Yeah, there's always a strategy, and I'm not a coach at this level, and there's so much more to it with this World Cup qualifier coming up in Italy next week. So it's interesting I'd like to be able to hear what their strategies are and their tactics.
Well, just a little heads up for you. I'm not going to spoil it. We'll tell the story when it really matters in the next game. At the end of the day, it was glorious as a longtime fan of this sport to have my first chance to watch Miyu Gato in person, who is a star for the Japanese, just 22. But it has been 22 years since I've had the chance to watch Yukiko Ueno in person. And at the 2002 World Championships, when she pitched Japan to a silver medal, she was 20 years old. And to be frank, with so much attention on Lisa Fernandez, Leah O'Brien-Amico, Stacey Nuveman, Laura Berg, Natasha Watley, Jessica Mendoza, and that American team, Fernandez was really, for me, the pitcher I was focused on. Well, I didn't miss Ueno at the time, but I kind of, in all sincerity, missed her. Mm-hmm. I knew they had this great young pitcher because I watched her 7 times. Well, maybe not 7, but I bet she threw 4 times in that championship and was amazing. And my takeaway coming away from 2002 and that viewing was as much about how Japanese players worked. I've talked about I enjoyed watching them take infield and outfield in that World Championship every bit as much as I watched them play in games, and I really did. So my memory is more collective of how they played and how they approached and how they didn't make mistakes and how in 2 games they gave the United States all they could handle.
Yeah, it's an experience to watch and play against, and a lot of the athletes playing now or these younger generations look up to Ueno and the Japanese players because it is so different. And the work ethic, again, going back to talking with these Australia athletes, they're still learning their work ethic. And so to be able to play someone like Japan at the age of 17 or 18 or 19, you see how important a strong work ethic is. If you come out here and just kind of lollygag and take a couple reps, you're never going to be able to compete, and that shows with Japan. And so they are something special, and I hope we're able to see Ueno soon here.
Pian Castelli behind the plate today for this one. And a 3-run homer. Now up to 3 home runs and 9 runs batted in as she heats up late in the tournament. Early on, hit a lot of balls hard, but didn't have a lot of success in terms of hits. But she's found her stride, although this is a mile in the air. And Rhiannon Kemp settles under that to make the second out of the inning. It's Canada and Japan coming up next. That's why we're spending some time in a 7-0 Italy lead. talking about that, and Hira Kurihara, born in Osaka. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of this whole event is to watch the Julia Apostolakos of the world, the Tara Vandewater of Israel, who hasn't even made her way to school yet.
Right.
I think Vandewater has one more year at high school before she gets to Oklahoma State. So it's so incredible to watch, from my perspective, the up-and-comers every bit as much as the stars and the names that, if you follow the sport, you've been quite familiar with. You know, if you watch at the highest level when you get an opportunity, or be lucky enough to be in this chair, to be here the last couple of years in particular, and in 2019 at the World Cup or the Olympic qualifier. I've got World Cup qualifier in my mind because those are going on right now, and there'll be 2 more of them in the next 2 weeks in Spain, and then the one Canada, Japan, and Italy will play in Italy starting on the 22nd of July.
Well, I kind of want to go back to the young generation and them kind of coming out here and competing is coming from a player's perspective. Again, retiring last year from Team Italy. Barbara with a shot.
That's going to go. And it went a long way. Mackenzie Barbara, who already had a 2-run double earlier in the game, now is added with Chelsea Dagger playing in the background. Another home run. And it is home run number 3 of the tournament, and now she's up to 3 home runs and 9 runs batted in, because she's 2 for 3 today with 3 runs batted in, including that solo shot to center.
And kind of a newer player to the international spectrum. She played last year with the under-22 and was able to play with the senior team over in Europeans and struggled a little bit, and that's bound to happen even though she's a great athlete. But getting back to the younger generation, I just want to say it's hopeful. And I think with softball kind of on this stage of, are we getting back in the Olympics? Are we not? What's the future look like? The women before myself and then my generation, we've worked so hard for softball to get where it is. And you don't want to see people half-assing it and not appreciating it. And I think the younger generation is doing a really good job of showing what they can bring and keeping softball on the map of sports that need to be on TV, and especially in the Olympics.
Mackenzie Barbara's 3rd home run of the tournament has Italy in front of the Australian development team by a count of 8-0, as Australia will bat in their final round-robin game of the Canada Cup. The batter is Elisa Miguel. Miguel, earlier in the game, felt so bad for her. Millie Fidge, who's having a fine game, both at bat, and she's the 3rd pitcher of record for this Australian, I'll call them the development team. They're known here as the Australia A team. But she fouled an inside pitch and hit Miguel. And then she had a big chuckle. And the best part of it, well, not for her, but was the fact that Amanda had lunch with a number of members of this team, and apparently they find themselves, whether they're watching a game or playing in games this week. What did you call them again?
They said ball magnets. And I laughed, and I was over there for an hour and a half, and 4, 5, 6 foul balls came that way, and they're just having a blast. And
I love it.
Yeah, the first thing they told me was, have you seen a moose? I'm like, what? I'm asking for softball stuff. I want to know about you. And they just want to see a moose. And then, again, just the young kids coming up, enjoying themselves, which is good because they know that they're not going to be at that 1, 2, 3, or 4 spot. But just fun to have inside jokes already with a team that hasn't been together for more than 5 days.
But they will play a playoff game tomorrow. They'll finish 7th. They'll take on, I'm going to guess, but shouldn't, because we still have a big game to play in terms of seeding 4 through 6. We know who 7 is. We know who 8 is. But we don't know anything else yet. We know Canada, 6-0 Japan, 6-1 Triple Crown Colorado. The other thing we know is Triple Crown Colorado can't be any less now than 2nd. That I'm pretty certain is the case. But it still could be a 3-way tie for top spot, and then it's going to be run differential in the games between those 3 teams. Longy knocked it down. She has a great throwing arm and throws out left fielder Taylor Chillingworth, who does have one of the Australian hits in the game, against Christina Toniolo, who's gone the whole way. And it'll be interesting to see whether it's Ketchamani or whether it's Alice Nicolini who gets the call tonight in a game where Italy will be in a must-win situation to grab a top 4 spot in the standings, which brings with it an extra playoff life.
And that's what makes it fun. These next 2 games tonight, are huge, and that's what makes softball tournaments like the Canada Cup so exciting is it comes down to these 2 games.
Haven't probably talked enough about Toniolo's giving them a nice performance.
She's doing well.
Against, a very young, up-and-coming team. Rhiannon Kemp in her 2nd consecutive Canada Cup. Was very, very impressive in both the U23 and Women's Open division, their Women's National Championship over there. Played amongst the 8 state representatives. Kemp was 5 for 18 in this tournament here, in the same type of scenario. Then it was called the development team. This year it's the Australia A team because the true A team was here last year, and they're now trying to earn their way into next year's World Cup, an 8-team tournament as well next year at a 6-team World Cup qualifier in Ireland. And this is well struck. Forces Vigna back and makes the catch.
That's good. Sorry, Peter, but that's good contact. That's a hit to be proud of, or that's a swing to be proud of there.
A well-hit ball, but made an out. As we could be headed for our last inning of this game. 8-0 Italy after 4 here at Softball City. Italy has the run differential right now they would need to end the game in the bottom of the fifth. The 7-run advantage is what is required. In fact, so obviously at 8-0, they have one extra, as Australia would need to score 2 at least. And Italy with another at-bat, Longi, the batter, and she's another player they hope really heats up tonight in their final round robin game. And tomorrow when the playoffs begin. And the first playoff game, and it is scheduled right now. We'll have to wait. Sometimes schedules change a little bit. Longi, nice plant.
There
A
she
great
goes.
play by Chelsea Robinson.
That's 2 good plays she's had. The first one, I think it was Melanie Sheldon, just outran it. This one, again, doesn't even replace her feet, takes the momentum of the ball with her, generates power from her arm, makes a beam of a throw to first, and makes a great out.
Melanie Sheldon, in just her second appearance after she was injured in Italy's first game, which in some ways seems like it was 8 weeks ago. In others, I can't believe we have 2 games left in the round robin.
I'm sure for Melanie it felt like weeks, too.
Oh, guaranteed for her it felt like weeks. But I'm just really excited that she's back with the upcoming World Cup qualifier, and I know they want to do really well. However, again, even to put that in some perspective, you're not going to play a world championship in Italy and Italy not be there. I mean, they're in. That's a guarantee. So, yes, it has meaning, but they know they're going to play
Right.
next year, unless I've missed something, and I don't think I have. They'll be part of the 8-team field as a result of hosting the World Cup of women's softball next year.
And that can give them another year to kind of figure out the holes in their lineup or holes in the field. Melanie's hasn't had the chance yet to really settle in at short, but she's going to do well. First base is kind of that open spot right now for Italy with the loss of Andrea Howard a couple years ago, retiring and moving on there. So it's a good thing for Italy, again, being biased because I played for them, but they have that chance to really start to rebuild or get better with less stress, kind of knowing that they're already in for the World Cup.
Catcher Maddie Baker comes out to chat with Millie Fidge as the sun beats down towards home plate.
I'll be honest, Peter, I did not know that Canada was going to be this hot, and everyone's going to say, great job, that's a not so smart American dual citizen, but it is hot. It is very hot. A lot of umbrellas and hats out here, and
Well, remember that because of our situation and our setup, at this time of day, every day, we are basically in broadcasting's easy bake oven. And we did not bring the cookie dough, or at least we haven't as of yet. So between 6 and 8 o'clock, and it's supposed to be even warmer, I might add, on the weekend. It's toasty.
I think Team Australia is used to it, maybe.
I'm going to guess that it's not their first. In fact, they probably find this just great. And I will say this. I have not spent 1 second of this event this week in the stands watching. I've been in the same place, which is exactly where I want to be when I'm here. But I can tell even moving out of this tent that there is some reprieve, but it's a beautiful day. probably in the 25 neighborhood, I would expect, right about now.
Well, even though we're hot sitting up here in the stands, it's when you're on that field, that's really not a factor. And again, playing in Japan was so hard with the humidity, but this is perfect softball weather, and the stands are starting to fill up for the Canada game. And it's interesting once you stop playing the things that affect you, like the weather. And Coots has the long sleeves on.
Well, I'm going to guess it gets pretty warm in Tennessee, although their season comes to an end in early June when they make it to the College World Series, as they did this year. I know one thing. This feels cool compared to the 4 days I spent in Oklahoma City, because there is no shortage of humidity there either. Laura Vigna having a good game. She's been used quite sparingly. Had a double earlier in the game. As Millie Fidge with a good rise.
Millie's throwing really well. I'm impressed by her today.
As am I. I was just about to say that. This is the one pitcher, not to take anything away from 27-year-old Steph Krasinski, but Millie is 24. Nice knockdown and the tag for out number 2 on Vigna. And staying with it was Elisa Miguel over at first.
That's a good job. I mean, knocking the ball down is the most important thing, and she does that. Probably saving a run or two there for the Aussies.
Marta Gasparotto playing down at first in this game. And 2 more runners aboard. So if she was to drive this ball into a gap, this game, well, it can't end in this inning.
I'd like to see a right center gap.
So would she.
A lot of these athletes tend to aim for the right center field when you're facing a pitcher that's not dominating you with speed. Again, that's going back to being able to wait on the ball and then explode through it with your power.
And hauled in by Taylor Chillingworth to end the inning. Good work this evening by Millie Fidge.
Mm-hmm.
Gave up just the 1 run against a very powerful Italian lineup that might be as deep as it's been now all week, with a return of Melanie Sheldon. Back to potentially close it out. And when we do, looks like we'll have a new pitcher back after this.
That's a good one.
What happened?
The look alike on the screen.
Oh.
Rachel Lewis will set left wing on the 7, Steph Brzezinski. Rachel Lewis will come block. Right shooter number 33, SURREY. Introducing the Latvia. Second baseman number 21, Vivelo.
From Softball City.
Team Australia, no runs, 3 hits, 1 error, 4 runners left on base. The game last week.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a premier member now